can do more than 200 miles an hour, 60 in probably less than 3 actually. And we've got it on a British road in typical British weather. And let's see exactly what it's got. Oh wait, hang on. Well, that's the speed limit. So that's all I can give it. Well, I'd love to give it more, but that's it. And that is the dilemma of the modern supercar, is it not? Cars with more power than Formula One cars from not very long ago.
And with grippy tyres that can pull more than 1G in cornering and more again under braking, car manufacturers have to make these sensational track cars also satisfy normal drivers on normal roads.
And we've laid on normal driver, normal road, normal British weather condition.
Where is the sunshine? By the way, if you'd like to see this car being driven in the sunshine on a track along with the pista, please have a look on Autocar and you will see somebody having a lot more fun than me on a racetrack in the sunshine.
If you like those videos, and if you like this one, don't forget to subscribe below and turn on notifications so you never miss another one.
Back in 1994, McLaren gave the world a car so fast that over 25 years later, we are still using that car's performance figures to benchmark every new supercar. Basically, the McLaren F1 did 0 to 100 in 6.2 seconds. Now, not every new McLaren is going to match that, but yesterday we had a 720S on a runway and it did 0 to 100 in 5.35 seconds. Trust me when I tell you this, that kind of performance can be disorientating. I did a launch for the first time yesterday, foot on the brake, brrr, let it go, whoa, I'm not joking, 2 or 3 seconds it took for my head to clear. That's how fast it was. Then, keeping my foot in, I saw 200 on the clock. The runway, 1.7 miles long, and I didn't use all of it.
And there are mechanical similarities between these two cars. Engines in the middle, 2 seats at the front, 7-speed twin clutch gearbox. The more nuanced differences include the fact that this is a predominantly aluminium structure.
The McLaren's chassis is, of course, carbon fibre, just like every road-going McLaren, from the McLaren F1 through the McMurk SLR to today's lineup.
So it's a little bit heavier than McLaren, but to the same extent, slightly easier to repair. This is an expensive car, £250,000 basic, which you can up to about £300,000, which makes it more than the 720S.
Which starts at about £220,000. These are, though, Woking and McLaren's efforts at a 700 plus horsepower supercar with the engine in the middle.
The engine is an absolute monster. 710 horsepower, 720 PS, hence the name. 0 to 60, McLaren claimed 2.9 seconds. 100, we recorded 5.35 yesterday on the runway. Top speed, McLaren claimed 212.
And this engine is, of course, the 4-litre twin turbocharged Ricardo V8 that's also found in the McLaren Senna.
Matt's in the 488 pista. I actually think, in terms of straight line speed, this has got that licked.
So this engine is basically the Ferrari 488 Challenge race engine. And although there is so much power that you just get to the legal limit in a second or two from whatever you're already cruising at, and then it's basically going at the same speed as everybody else, there is enjoyment to be had.
There is an incredible lack of turbo lag on the road. I have no idea how Ferrari does it, but they do it better than everybody else.
It does steer pleasingly, it's accurate. There's not loads of feel, but it is accurate. The pedal responses are all good. Body control's terrific. If I push that button, I get a bumpy road mode, and actually the ride is very, very good on this car. It's very compliant. Not sure it's as good as the McLaren's.
There is so much to like about this car. It's beautifully built. The ride quality is unbelievable. I was trying to think of another car that rides quite like this in the same class, and honestly, I can't think of anything. You have to go to an S-Class, and that's not an exaggeration, to get something that rides as well as this, and it's all down to the trip suspension.
McLaren have done away with the anti-roll bars in a system they call Proactive Chassis Control 2. This uses a system of fluid-filled interconnected link to control roll and stiffness.
And I have to say, it works fantastically.
Visibility is good, as it is in most supercars these days. Out the back it's not brilliant, but it's not bad. The mirrors are pretty striking.
That means that despite it being relatively wide for winding country roads, the 488 Pista is not an intimidating car to drive on the road.
It steers quickly. Steering's fairly light, so it feels an agile car. It's easy to place.
Control weights are beautiful. I love the steering, I love the feel of the steering, both in terms of its weight, both in terms of the feedback and just the texture The firmness to the wheel, it's nice, it's not too fat.
Brake pedal feel is also very nice, with a firm but consistent feel, whether you're flat out or in stop-start traffic.
Oh man, it's soggy today. I wish it was dry. Let's see what happens if we give it some potatoes. Ooh. It's hopping and skipping. Man, this is a mega thing.
Hello, mate. Are you having fun in there?
I am. My heated seat is a bit hot. I'm going to try and turn that down. I've got toasty buns. I'm having fun. This car actually is a pretty special bit of kit, but I know you know that already.
Are you having as much fun, do you think, as I am in here?
One word answer, no. Even though that was probably 4 words.
I'll tell you what might be useful, mate, is if we pull over and talk through the interiors of both cars. That might be a good thing.
So we've just pulled up so we can have a quick look at the interior of these two cars because they are so different.
The McLaren makes its carbon fibre really obvious because it's carbon fibre tub. The fact that this is aluminium, the carbon fibre is here as adornments, but it's quite nicely sculpted, swoopy.
This is a lovely place to be. There's a lot of different shapes. The leather, it all feels beautiful, and I love the exposed stitching. Comfort-wise, I can get really comfy in here. The steering wheel comes in and out, goes up and down. There's plenty of movement seat height-wise as well. But annoyingly, the controls for the seat are in a really awkward place, and all of the buttons all feel a very different shape.
It's a good driving position. I prefer the McLaren steering wheel to this slightly busy one. And if it were me, I wouldn't necessarily spec the 4-point harnesses for road use. It's just a pain not being able to, you know, reach the cup holders, reach any storage points. Also, I wouldn't delete the stereo because there's quite a lot of road noise as we're going along.
The panel here moves up and down depending on what mode you've got the car in. You can manually activate it. It's actually quite cool. It looks pretty good, and it's got all your information here. You've got your revs, your gears, tyre temperature, engine temperature, oil temperature. All falls really easily to sight.
I think it depends how you use your pista, doesn't it? I mean, if you're going to use this car 95% of the time on track, trailer it to the circuit, have it taken there, or just drive it there and back, but only use it on track, I guess having the full raw experience is the way to go. As a road car, I still prefer it to a 488 because it's lighter and it's more delicate, but I think the stripped out interior as a road car is not quite as satisfying.
Paddles are nicely positioned. They fall to hand quite well. I like the feel of the aluminium stalks, and they're really nicely damped. It sounds a strange thing to say, but there's quite a nice feel to the action of all the stalks. And I love the steering wheel. It's a really firm, it's got a really firm feel to it, and that actually helps bring some of the impressions from the road up to the wheel.
The McLaren probably has a better driving position than this. This is very good still, but just the fact that that littler wheel comes out much further is better. I prefer the paddles to shift gears in the Ferrari. I like the fact that they stay attached to the steering column. That is, to me, on a road car, preferable, because the wheel may be over here and I may need a gear, and that's fine because the gear shift will always be where I left it. The fact that the indicators are on the steering wheel is slightly baffling because you might have the wheel turned and then that can be confusing.
The view out of this thing is absolutely fantastic. I can't think of another supercar with a more airy atmosphere in the cabin. However, the view of the infotainment system isn't great. There's a lot of buttons. It's quite hard to determine straight off which one does what. For me, the most annoying thing. So before you get to be able to do any of the controls for your gearbox settings, your suspension settings, you've got to activate a panel. Then you can have a play with these switches, which feel quite nice to the hand. They're pretty easy to kind of get your head around. However, if you want to turn the traction control system off, you've activated the panel, you then have to press ESC off, you then have to confirm you want it off, and then you can have a bit of a play with it. However, I've been trying all morning to turn the ESC off, and it's just telling me it can't do it, and I don't know why.
This is very straightforward. That button gives you soft or firm dampers. This one here, the little Manatino they call it, just varies the amount of slip that you get before the electronics kick in, from the wet mode where they kick in very early to all the way through to ESC off, in which case you're absolutely on your own. And it's just so much better. It's so much better because you might get to a corner on a circuit and just think, actually, I want a bit of ESC off action here, or get to a nice stretch of road where you just think, oh, I just want to let it extend a bit more, or even see some water ahead and think, I'm going to stick that in wet so I just don't make an accident. This is much simpler, much more straightforward, much better system than they have in the McLaren.
a supercar, I want a harness.
I just wouldn't.
You wouldn't, really?
Well, I might, but I'd want to keep the inertia belt. And on a day like today,
But do you not think that's part of what makes it feel a bit more special? Like, you're not going to drive this thing every day. I know you can, and that's what McLaren is so good at.
yeah, no, that is a fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah, but for me, when I get in a supercar, I kind of want it to feel. I want it to feel really different to anything else that I drive every day, and that's part of where the McLaren loses a bit for me. I know it's epic, and it's amazing to have an everyday car that is that accessible and that fast, but I kind of want to get in my supercar and think, wow, I'm in something really, really special.
Yeah.
And
you do that with this, don't you?
I
It does
do that,
feel
yeah,
a special car. And I suppose that's part of what makes it try to feel special at road speed.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of... But that's all you can use as a performance. So
Yeah.
I suppose it's got to feel special in other ways.
Yeah, I know. But there's so much to like about the McLaren. I say, down here, I was trying to think of another car that I could benchmark the ride quality against, and I kind of had to go to an S-Class.
Yeah, I reckon
In a supercar category, what else rides like that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, this rides well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but
it
it's
rides very
still,
well.
there is, there is that
Have you got it
up
in
and
bumpy
down
road,
stuff. I've got it in bumpy
Yeah.
road, but it's still not as smooth
No,
as...
nothing like it. And it
as I remember
tramlines a lot
it.
more. It tramlines a lot more as well.
McLaren steers better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know what's funny? I was looking at the tyre size. So it's only got 245, 35 front tyres, which I think maybe that helps the steering a bit. This thing tramlines, it's got these massive front
you
tyres.
think you may be right.
Whereas the thinner rubber on that McLaren, it doesn't corrupt the steering so.
But then on a
so much.
circuit,
Yeah, you get the understeer.
you get the understeer, don't you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, unless you drive it its way,
Yeah.
you get the understeer.
Yeah.
Whereas this,
And you know what? That was my biggest gripe. So having spent some time on the track with it, and even today, to be honest, come around one of these corners, there was a bit of understeer.
Oh, okay.
So my two biggest gripes with the McLaren are, firstly, the turbo lag.
yeah,
You don't notice it so much on the road, but on track you really notice it, and
Yeah,
that
totally.
I'm afraid accentuates that understeer.
it does, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
you get the push, you come on the throttle,
drive
it
through
pushes
it.
some more,
Yep.
and then if you stay on the throttle,
Yep.
eventually it pushes
and
through
then it snaps because it's got
And
an open
because there's
diff.
no open diff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's pretty
Exactly.
snappy. So this thing has got one of the most playful chassis on any car.
Yeah.
Be it a supercar, be it a $7,000 MX-5. This will do what all of those cars do. And somehow, I don't know how I've done it, but Ferrari make this thing handle like their front engine rear-wheel
It's so
drive cars
docile.
when
It's
you're
like
playing with
it's
it.
like a GT86, isn't it?
How you
It's
do it.
so docile, like a Mark
Yeah.
II Ford Escort.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I agree, and I think even on the road,
Yeah.
at low speeds, that balance,
Yeah.
you can kind of feel
Definitely. But
in it,
when
isn't it?
but in what I found on the track, when you're just kind of tipping it in, it still manages to rotate around the middle like
Yeah.
a mid-engine car does.
Yeah.
But when you're playing with it, it just reacts like a front-engine car.
Yeah.
It's an amazing bit of kit.
Yeah.
It's my favourite supercar of the moment.
It's mine too.
Yeah.
I think if I had all the money,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd buy that many modern supercars,
No.
but I think I would have
I would
one
have
of
one
these.
of these as well, yeah.
The Pista is the winner then. The McLaren is great on the road too, but the Ferrari has less turbo lag, a sensational gear shift, and a balance that you can feel on the road even at normal road speeds.
If you want to see either the 720S or the Pista on track, then click on the two videos on screen now. Or to subscribe, hit the Autocar logo.